Okay, so we are outside the gym. So been ill for the past couple of days, so it's quite hard not to think about that heading into the session. You can maybe tell just by the way I sound, I look a little bit dead behind the eyes still as well. So it's quite hard not to let that impact your session, but I'm trying my best to tell myself that I'm still going to get a good session, I'm still going to be strong, because that's kind of the first thing you think, body weight comes down, etc. and you think, fuck, I'm going to be weak today, but don't want that negative mindset going into things. So we'll get in, we'll just try and smash through it, get a good session anyway, and then take it from there. Right, so what I was talking about there actually links quite nicely into one of the questions. So I put on my Instagram that people can ask me anything related to like training, nutrition, lifestyle, or anything that they're struggling with. Someone has just put performance in a gaining phase over look. Now I think what they probably mean is that they're maybe struggling in that gaining phase with how they look and then trying to focus on performance instead. Now, in a gaining phase, and this goes for pretty much anyone unless you're like a newbie, unless you're like a beginner. When you're a beginner, you're going to be able to put on like a really, really decent amount of muscle anyway, and your body composition doesn't really have to change that much. You're not really going to have an accumulation of too much body fat. However, if you have been training for a while, you're going into a gaining phase, you're going to have to, I wouldn't say put a lot more effort in, but you're going to have to work harder to achieve, or work just as hard to achieve not as much of a response compared to someone that's just started. And what that usually means is going into longer off seasons, going into longer gaining phases, and what that means is an accumulation of more body fat. So what I would recommend is trying to take things as slow as possible in terms of a rate of gain. Say as slow as possible. I would aim for about a 0.25 rate of gain if you are looking to keep things really quite tight, and that means that accumulation of body fat isn't going to come as quickly. You're going to be able to get away with pushing for longer before that accumulates to a point where you're visually not happy with how things look. That's going to come down to like how long you have to push and what your goals are and things like that. Not everybody just has all the time in the world to go through a gaining phase, but I'd look to take things slowly, because you can only build muscle at a certain rate anyway. More body weight does not mean more muscle, so that's going to be the safest bet for you to hold on to those visuals while you go through that gaining phase. But yeah, touching on like performance, that's obviously like the nice part of a gaining phase is you feel stronger, you feel bigger, even if you don't necessarily look bigger. You feel bigger, you feel stronger. You can, again, go on to weights that you've perhaps never touched before. You can hit PBs that you've never hit before, and focusing on that to gain some reward instead of using your physique as that reward and your visuals as that reward is a really, really good thing to do. So focus on performance, focus on getting strong, feeling good, and then taking your body weight at a rate of gain that is going to be efficient for gaining muscle, but not too quick to then ruin visuals too quickly and accumulate too much fat. Okay, so next question actually comes from a client, and it is there a certain phase you prefer coaching a client through? And the short answer to that is no, because I just enjoy seeing my clients progress. It doesn't need to be a fat loss phase or a gaining phase or a recomp, whatever it is. However, I will add to that and say that with a fat loss phase, the visual progress comes in a lot quicker. So what I do notice is, sorry if that's very loud. What I do notice is that clients do prefer, most of the time, seeing how quickly the visual changes come in with a fat loss phase. And I'll always tell my clients what they need to hear and not necessarily what they want to hear in order to get the most progress out of them. And I'll always explain to them why we're doing things and get them on board with that, because then they realise that that's going to be the best for them, and obviously they want the best for themselves. So no, I don't. I just enjoy seeing my clients progress. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to make their life easier, get them to where they want to be, and that is super, super rewarding. Doesn't matter what phase it is. Next question is going to be, what is my favourite element of coaching? Again, sitting with one of my clients here. So favourite element of coaching is definitely seeing people address their pain points. So when someone starts with coaching, yes, they might want to be bigger or they might want to have less fat, but there's usually an underlying reason why that is. That can maybe be to feel more confident when they go on holiday and they take their top off. It might be to fit in a certain size dress that they used to be able to fit into. It might be to be more fit and, you know, or have a better relationship in that sense too. So there's loads of like underlying pain points, and you kind of get to address them with each client, and that's like the really meaningful stuff. Like that's the stuff that has the biggest impact on them, and I'm always here to have the biggest impact on their life. Yeah, like it might be cool getting a nice transformation and stuff, and someone looks dramatically better, but actually having a more positive impact on their general life, that is like super, super, super rewarding. So that is definitely my favourite element. Right, big deck. Wee tip here for you. I've covered this before on quite a lot of like Instagram stuff, but loop your wee D handles around here. This is going to be really good. This could be really good if you have any sort of like wrist pain when you're doing this. Wee slight bend in the elbows, pulling the chest back, and then you're good to go from there. You could take this one step further and maybe add like a wee foam roller or something behind you, but not really necessary right now. Well, for me anyway. Next question is ab related, and this is actually from the previous set of questions that I asked like last month, and for some reason YouTube only uploaded like the first 5 minutes of the video, so half the questions are cut out obviously. And this is, why are my ab exercises not giving me more visible abs? And that's probably down to two things. Well, you need to break, first of all, you need to break this question into two. First part of the question gets answered in the gym, and that's going to be down to your training. In order to improve your midsection, you need to be training your abs, right? So you need to be taking your abs through different movements, and the most simple way to break this down is think about going from top to bottom, so like a crunch variation, and then going from bottom to top, so something like a hanging leg raise or something like that. So you need to be training them effectively. And then the second part comes down to what's happening with nutrition and what's happening in the kitchen, and we'll answer that part when we're in the kitchen. In the kitchen, because the second part of that answer, and arguably the more important part of that answer, is what's going on in the kitchen. Now, I don't specifically mean like in this room of the house, but I mean your diet. Now, no matter how hard you train your abs and no matter how good your training is for them, you're not going to be able to see them unless you are lean enough for them to visibly show. So there's kind of two answers to that question. If you've been training them really hard for a long period of time, then what I'd recommend is dieting down, so losing some body fat, and that way they will more than likely come through. However, if you have a poor midsection and you diet down, that does not mean that your abs are going to look really, really good. You might have a poor midsection, so you're going to need to train them and then get lean. Or get lean, establish if you have a good midsection. That'll be very, very easy to tell because you'll be able to see your abs really, really well. Or if you have a poor section, then you're going to need to look at your training and make sure that you're training them hard enough, make sure that you are programming your training well, and then actually put some effort into making that midsection look better. So two parts to that. I feel like the training side is often overlooked, to be honest. A lot of people just diet down and think they're going to have like amazing abs, and sometimes they don't. And then you ask them if they've ever trained them before or put any effort into training them before, and the answer is more than often no. So do with that information as you will. Find out whether you are carrying just too much fat or if you have a poor midsection, and then fix it. Okay, so next question is, what is the best way to reduce fatigue? And the best way to reduce fatigue is going to be sleep. Now, it's the most simple way that you can improve your recovery. Is focus on your sleep, the quality of your sleep as well, and not just how long you're sleeping for. Very popular nowadays to look at sort of like cold exposure or heat exposure. However, this can actually like impact your recovery if you're doing it close to your weight training session. It's either going to put your body into a state of shock, cold exposure, and you're not going to be able to recover that well, or you're actually going to increase the inflammatory response that you'd get after your training session and prolong it for a period of time, where it's going to have detrimental effects if you're doing heat exposure, so something like a sauna. So loads of people are quick to jump on saunas and ice baths, but if you're actually doing them around your training, it can have negative consequences, which we obviously don't want. So focus on your sleep, and those cold and heat exposures can be useful just away from your training, not right before or right after. You probably notice it's a different day as well. It's the day after, training pill today. So go into the rest of the questions.
People, so that will be the end of the video. It is a different day now, you can probably tell. I'm pretty convinced that even like the beard and the hair is a bit longer from when we started this video, even though it was only a couple of days ago. But I'll always forget to do an outro clip, and this will be the outro clip. So I answered just a few questions there, nothing too crazy, and you've seen a little bit of my training as well. So yes, thank you if you've actually watched it, and catch you in the next one.